This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Ways to prevent suckback, what is beer gas and how to use it, and what would happen if I did open fermentation. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 345. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, call us at 325-305-6107, leave a voicemail, and get yourself a $25 gift card to KegConnection.com. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing. Join me, as always, if I can get that working. There we go. The Director of Operations at cmbecker.com over there, Mr. James Charlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of KegConnection.com. Right there beneath me on the bottom part of the screen, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Hey.
I think I had a listener say, collectively, I've said Todd below me over 40 times. So I'm trying creative ways to say Todd's down there. And someone did tell me too, I could actually move it around if I wanted. Here I am on the screen moving y'all around. Oh, I say that. There we go. Look at that. Now Todd's not beneath me, but now Todd is beneath me. Hey, there we go. And then James over there. Okay, I'm going to stop messing with that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. I know.
I mean, that's you just figured out how to use View on
Zoom.
I mean, you're the person that does this.
No, but on Zoom, I've never had to reorganize. What would make you reorganize it? Have you? I do. So
I don't even know what we're talking about. I would never reorganize it. I don't care where you are.
Yeah, no.
I don't care if you. I don't care if you're below me.
You got me. Okay, you got. Actually, I prefer it. Okay, I actually prefer it. Anyway. We are I'm actually I'm going to spill some marketing beans here. We are recording on a Wednesday. Originally Todd was supposed to be out of town, is why we were recording Wednesday. That trip kind of got canceled, but it was a camping trip. But we are recording on a Wednesday, and I asked them to because the YouTube algorithm or in studio, I'm assuming it's AI. It's not a real person giving me tips or whatever, but they said, hey, I think your metrics would be better if you publish Thursdays at 12 p.m. Central. And so that for the video version on YouTube. So I was like, hey guys, let's give that a try. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you have a treat. We're publishing it hours and hours earlier than normal. It's normally like between 5:30, 6 p.m. Central.
So it would do better if we change the time, possibly?
Possibly. So yeah,
now that you just told everybody this, they're going to go and look, and it's going to change our views. And yeah,
ideally they're watching this earlier, more of them, and they'd be like, yeah, that is right. It did show up in my recommended first. Because if you're not already, let me do the other marketing spiel. Hit that subscribe button, click on the bell notification, be notified every time that we publish a video, because it's not just a podcast we're publishing. We publish how-to videos. We got some Jockey Bots content videos coming down the pipeline with the brand new Jockey Bots section on Tech Connection. We've got the wedding kit videos. We've got a lot of other James's your overnight mash video still gets a lot of traction. I get notifications of comments on that. You as well on the comparison video it's still relevant, but it's older. It's like 3 years old now. But that still gets comments all the time. Y'all's Cooler Brew video, all the content you guys are in is getting a lot of the traction. But anyway, so yeah, we're publishing this early, and I always take feedback from people who are actually consuming the show, not just how the YouTube algorithm feeds it to people. So let me know if you prefer earlier in the day publishing, or because I don't know if we want to change Thursdays at 1 p.m. for our actual local record time, but I could always publish it Friday at noon, or I could try to edit it quicker. The YouTube side of it is out of my hands. When I upload it, and it's normally about a gig per episode, I can't make them take it faster. Like my upload speeds here are decent, but the processing, right, is what holds me from being able to publish it immediately. So sometimes YouTube's processing it real quick, and sometimes it takes them an hour or two. But anyway, that was behind the scenes on that really cool story. For those of you who have stuck around, I do have some small talk before we get into listener feedback. And
I thought that was it. I'm sorry.
The whole episode was, we're going to record 9 minutes and then publish it. Y'all let us know how it goes. Nothing about beer, nothing about homebrew. No, let me go down the line of what I have for, we're going to start with the Alt Pokal. Nope, that's not on the screen. There it is. Todd, don't make a comment. I know you don't have it on the screen. We are down to the last 5 spots for Alt Pokal. We have had 35 people sign up. We've had 34 of them pay. I won't call you out, one guy, but it's been like 10 days. You could pay. Anyway, we had 35 people already sign up for the Alt Pokal, which right now is October the 26th through the 28th. Thursday the 26th through Saturday the 28th. I'm about to send out a whole mass thing to everyone who signed up to let you know you have an extra week. I originally said the 19th through the 21st. Todd has a very, very important meeting he can't miss that whole week that I initially scheduled it for. What are you killing? What are you hunting?
Antelope.
Antelope. Are you bringing some back that we can eat?
Yeah, you eat it all the time.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Every time my wife has pasta, you're probably eating. Well, it's either venison or antelope. I use both.
Are they a similar taste? Because I can always tell when there's venison. I don't know if I've ever.
My wife loves antelope. Some people say it don't. Some people say it's more gamey. My wife prefers it. I'm kind of neutral. I like both venison and. I mean, you say you can always taste it, but I don't know that.
No, I can taste venison. I don't know if I've ever gone.
When you eat Italian food at my house, you always taste venison.
Yeah, your Italian sausage has never not been venison since I've known you.
As far as you know.
Do you want to bet $5?
Yes, I would. Definitely
no, we can't prove that. No, that's a stupid bet.
Because I use antelope sometimes.
Oh, I do what you're saying. Okay, well, do a blind taste test on me. I'll be a guinea pig. I'll try to.
All right.
I'll try to guess which one's which.
Done.
Deal. And I'm the winner here. So Todd's wife is sick, And here's how selfish I am. I reached out to her, Todd, to see if there's anything I can do to help her get better, because I'm about to be up there and I don't want you in charge of my meals, dude.
Yeah. We're going to eat good.
No, actually, you do cook good, but we're about to have our German friends from CMB Schankenlagen in town. They're going to be here all next week, and then they're rolling into opening weekend of dove season, right? So your rowdy friends are going to be up there for that. I can't wait to get a shotgun in Stefan and Danielle's hands. I think that will be quite the time to be had. But, but back to what I was saying, the Alt Pokal, you can go to altpokal.com, ALTPOKAL. Registration link and all the information about the event is there. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors who, without their support, we couldn't do the Trub Club, and we certainly couldn't do events like this. Muntins Malts, hopsdirect.com, Imperial Yeast. All of them are just stand-up people, and we greatly appreciate their support, as well as the support of you paying Trub Club members at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, who this month, boom, last call. If you want the Comanche Moon Summer Ale, it's getting to the end of the month. I'm shipping them out starting on Monday. I've kind of committed to doing the last Monday of every month to get these out. Now, I know there's still days after that Monday left in the month. So if you want this recipe, you can still go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, join a recipe receiving tier, and we'll get it out to you. I'm just saying I'm starting to ship them out this coming Monday. So be on the lookout for that. And as always, when Monday comes and goes and you want your tracking info, text me directly, 325-305-6107 with your name if I don't already have an existing thread with you on text messages. And I'm very quick about getting back to people because I'm addicted to my cell phone. So Alt Pokal, 5 spots remaining. Here's a pleasant surprise, guys, that I do want to talk about. I sent y'all the artwork. I'm going to put it on the screen. We have a treat. Speaking of Trub Club members, we have a treat for y'all coming. I believe we're working out the details of which tiers, because frequently we try to give people of all tiers something to say thank you, even if it's like a time-based thing or whatever. But we've got Kolsch Stanges coming to us. I used Grandstand or egrandstand.com, got the order in, just got notification last night. The artwork's been approved. They're supposed to be here by the end of the month. I'm terribly excited. I sent y'all the
what's
mock-up.
what's a stange?
It's a stang. It's like
stang.
Yeah,
is it like a thing or what?
It is. It's like a thing. I don't want to talk about the email thread we exchanged back and forth about it. Do you want me to put the picture on the screen?
Sure, yeah. But I won't be able to see it. It's a problem.
Whoa, look at that. No, Todd has never heard this word, allegedly, which you've been to Cologne more than I have. You and James, I think, have been to Cologne many, many times together.
Yeah, in German. And when Germans ask you, they said, would you want another glass?
Oh, okay. Good call. But I remember we were either at Fruit. It had to be Peter's, because when you took me to Cologne, we didn't buy the fruit. The waiter gave it to us. He gave us those 2 glasses. It had to be Peter's that we bought the glasses from. And on the price board, it said Kolsch Stang, and then it had the price, whatever we paid. That's where I first heard it. But that just means that's the name of the Kolsch glass. But you looked it up, and what does it literally translate to? Like pole?
Pole. Yeah.
Todd thought I was buying stripper poles for Trub Club members. And then
I don't think that's appropriate.
That's what he told me. But then we had a very inappropriate back and forth through email that I've purged my inbox now and my search history. But I am kidding, boss. We do. I'm very excited to get these Kolsch glasses in people's hands. They will certainly be going out with recipe receiving members. We know that for sure. And when they come in, they'll just ship out with your next recipe kit so that nobody has to pay anything for shipping. We do, I was telling someone, a friend of mine who's also a listener of the show, Judo Joe, what's going on, man? But I was telling him how we really do try. We don't make money on Homebrew Happy Hour, and the revenue that comes through for things, we try to put back into the show as best as possible. Todd can vouch. I'm always asking, can I please buy this for the show? It would enhance this part, or can we buy this thing for Trub Club members or whatever? So we do try to just circulate that back. And we do appreciate, like I said, everyone who's in a paying tier at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, because it lets us continue the party. Like Robert Earl Keen, I think, said, right? The road goes on forever, Todd, but the party
never ends.
Never ends. That's
all
what,
right.
That's what we
questions.
Yeah. So before we get to questions, though, Todd, it's time for listener feedback. 2 weeks in a row, I have sourced foreign voicemails for listener feedback. Some might say I'm trying to get out of giving Todd's money away to people who can actually spend it without also spending a ton in shipping. But that's not the case. We just want to show support to our foreign audience. And this week, oh no, I'm a liar. That's the first question. This week is actually the Marut Minute. Jonathan, Todd predicted it last week when we talked about pressure fermentation stuff, and it is self-fulfilling prophecy. Jonathan did call in and leave us a voicemail feedback regarding pressure fermentation, the question we took last week.
Hey guys, it's Jonathan from Fort Worth. Yes, Todd is correct in that I'm calling in with some feedback on the pressure fermentation discussion from last episode. So there's a few reasons why you might want to pressure ferment. The first is if you can't keep the wort temp in a normal range, either because you don't have the ability to, or because you want to ferment at a higher temperature. So for example, Imperial Harvest temperature range is 50 to 60 Fahrenheit, and Dieter is 60 to 69 Fahrenheit. You could ferment either of these yeasts at 60 degrees Fahrenheit with no pressure, and they would both be happy. But if you put either of them at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, they would likely produce off flavors, which is not desirable for yeasts that are supposed to be neutral and not estery. But if you put them under pressure, you can reduce or entirely eliminate those off flavors. Unregulated temperatures are another reason that yeast can be stressed. Fermenting indoors might get you a range of, say, 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but such fluctuations can stress yeast and introduce off flavors. Again, pressurization can reduce or eliminate these off flavors. Now, some folks will downplay the need for pressure on a homebrew scale. But really, by introducing pressure, we're simply recreating the pressure that's present in commercial fermenters. When you do the math on a 10 to 30 barrel fermenter like you see in many craft-sized commercial breweries, the hydrostatic pressure is significant. We're talking 500 to 1,500 gallons of beer. Using 10 to 15 psi on your homebrew-sized fermenter simply recreates similar conditions. I know a local brewery who ferments lagers at a significantly higher than standard temperature in their commercial size fermenters with no ill effects due to the pressures involved in a 10 to 15 foot tall conical fermenter. The added benefit is the fermentation finishes much faster at warmer temperatures. So in Josh's example, he did Dieter at 68 Fahrenheit under pressure. This is well within Dieter's temperature range. So there's nothing wrong with doing that, but you probably didn't really improve anything by doing it under pressure. You could have done it at 68 Fahrenheit with no pressure too. So as an example, I recently did a big batch of alts for the alt cup. I did 15 gallons split into a 10 gallon and a 5 gallon fermenter. The 10 gallon fermenter is temperature controlled and I ran it at a normal temperature. The 5 gallon isn't temperature controlled, so it's in my house, just sitting out on the floor. The temperatures vary between 85 and 75 Fahrenheit, and it's got the same yeast in both fermenters, and they should both turn out identical due to the pressure on the higher temp version. So I hope this clears up some things. I know I'm way beyond my 1 minute allotment, but I also know that Josh likes maximum episode length, so this should help with that. Keep up the good work, and I hope to visit you guys at the ranch again soon. Take care.
Let's drag his feedback out a little, okay? Can we do that, guy? No.
Well, I actually do. So before I forget, I guess this is my question, and I kind of asked it, I thought, last week, but to do with your Kolsch. So, one of the things he mentioned is that, Kolsch is a very neutral strain. It doesn't have a lot of esters, but really the main thing that you get from Kolsch, taste from a Kolsch yeast are the esters.
You're right.
Which was that fruity flavor that you get in a Kolsch.
Right.
So if you take yours at 68 degrees and you pressure ferment it, do you ever not develop enough esters so you don't get that Kolsch fruity taste that you're looking for? That would be my question.
That is a great question. I would say, so the batch y'all had at HomebrewCon and the batch that you had at your barn, which I don't know if they're still on tap, where would you rate that in regards to there's esters in it or it's totally missing esters? Because that was done at 68 under pressure. I just mean
it forever.
I don't think it was noticeable. I was doing it as a backup, 'cause even though this is a little office, 68 was about as cold as I could get it, and I didn't want it to fluctuate into the low 70s. And they'd be like, "Son of a gun! Now there's way too much. The yeast is way too stressed." I just did both because it's what.
Well, I mean, I guess my question though is it possible? In other words,
right, to
with
suppress
some styles. Okay, let's say you pressure fermented a wheat beer. What am I looking? A Hefeweizen, which is supposed to taste like bananas and cloves are being shoved down your throat, right? So what if you did that at 70 degrees and you pressure fermented it? What would that do to those?
That's a great question.
Flavors.
That's a great question. You're right. Are there styles you would say don't ever pressure ferment because X, Y, and Z? It's going to suppress what you want to come from the yeast. As opposed, that's your question. Is there ever a time that pressure suppresses the yeast from creating things that the style calls for?
Yeah.
That's maybe a Marut 92 seconds we can get, or that.
I think he that was a very simple question. I think you could answer it in 30 seconds or less.
Not after he gets my feedback, buddy. All right, how dare you? But anyways, Jonathan, thank you so much. This is the reminder: when you leave us a voicemail, feedback that I take on a future episode to 325-305-6107, you get yourself a $25 gift card to catconnection.com, courtesy of Mr. Burns right there beneath me. And if you call that same hotline and leave a question, you also get yourself a $25 gift card. Like our first question, this is our buddy Simon from England, who left us a nice little voicemail.
Hi gang, it's Simon from England here. Josh has persuaded me to send a voice note so he can use the $25 gift card on his Brewtag. I've got two questions. One is a follow-up from a question I asked before. Is there any reason I couldn't use a non-return valve in a blow-off tube to prevent suckback? No laughing there, Todd. Secondly, when you guys come to the UK, as my buddy Mark and I would love to get on a few beers with you. Lots of love, Simon.
Let's address the second. Let's address the second question.
Yeah,
first.
I don't really care. The second one's the one I want to talk about.
Let's start at the second one. I've never spent any time in the UK.
I'm ready. Let's go now.
Outside of Heathrow. When can we go to the UK? When's a good time to visit the UK?
We got to go to Muntins too.
Yeah,
so we need to go. We just got to plan a trip.
We got to make it
and start making money so we can have the money to go.
I got to stop spending the money, is what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, you need to save Homebrew Happy Hour funds so we can go to England.
Crap. You're
That's
right.
a great option. That's a great goal.
Okay, good. That's my new goal. Maybe,
or at least pay for the tickets.
Yeah, no, totally. Because you're right. Well, every time Homebrew Happy Hour gets some money, I'm like, let's spend. I'm not. I didn't listen to the old financial advisors. My pop tried to grow me up on. But anyways, his actual first.
Oh no, you're very good at it with your own money.
Yeah. You're right.
You're excellent. Yeah, I don't know a guy that manages his own money better. Frankly.
You're right, but with your money, just loosey goosey.
You forgot to mention my.
And the small talk. I did. You're right. So yeah. Todd has on. Speaking of foreign and stuff, Pilsen, which I don't know if the Germans would fight me over, but it was actually created in Czech, the town of Pilsen, right? But you got that shirt, but it's not even European. You got that shirt with Puerto Rico,
Costa Rica.
That's the name of the brewery down there.
Yeah.
What was the style?
Pilsen.
It's an ale.
It was an IPA.
Yeah, it was an IPA.
Yeah. Pilsen IPA.
No, yeah. I've been waiting for that. Anyways, but to his first question. Okay, so I'm assuming, I had to Google a little when I heard it about doing an inline check valve, James. Is there any risk you have of over pressurizing in your fermentation vessel because it could get blocked or something. But the only check valves I really found that people are using are duotite, and a lot of the times the duotite check valves are used on the gas side of stuff, as is a lot of check valves.
They're using it as like a splending valve.
Right. So on the gas side, they want a check valve to ensure liquid's not coming in from the keg or whatever up into on their draft system. But how would you think implementing a check valve would look to prevent suckback? Or what are your tips for preventing suckback when it comes time to cold condition your beers after they've done fermenting? Or during primary too, because y'all use blow off tubes. Pardon me. So
yeah, but you don't get suckback on primary fermentation. Yeah. So what we do, because we're blessed with good equipment, thank you, Todd, is we have a chiller and a chilling coil. So I don't experience suckback until I do a cold crash, because the liquid expands as it's warmed and it contracts as it's cooled. So as it's cooling down,
like a lot of things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like many other things.
Metals. Yeah.
So anyway, we can every now and then I'll notice we'll lose a little liquid we're using a spike fermenter with a PRV or a splending valve. It's really overbuilt. It's really impressive. But there's a reservoir in there that you can we put sanitized. I use Sandstep in there with water as my blow off water. That way, if for any reason it does get a little suckback, it's not going to affect anything. But that's the only time I see it. I mean, if you were going to use that, like let's say, for instance, you were going to do a glass carboy and you were going to seal it off with a check valve and cool it down in a cooler, it is possible you could crack that glass just from the pressure difference. It's got to go somewhere. But everything else, like buckets or stainless steel products, that would be the only thing that I would say. Watch for if you're doing a cold crash in the same vessel and you have a check valve on it, that pressure's got to go somewhere. It's not, it's going to suck the fermenter in.
Yeah, it would collapse, right? I mean, potentially. Yeah. Todd, when you're doing blow off,
we have seen that. Well, I've seen it where they start on those pressure fermenters where the temperature changes and they start to suck in.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't like that. When you do blow off tubes, obviously, again, this isn't a time of suckback because you're doing it in primary, because you fill your CF15 conical to the brim. Like they're not only that, actually, people have noticed one time, what was the video we did of you going into a carboy and you also got to the brim and people were like, he could have fit a little bit more in there, I think.
I was missing several ounces.
You go to the brim, but is there a diameter of tubing? Does it matter what you use when using a blow-off tube, regardless of primary or secondary or whatever? Is there a diameter that you go, hey, listen, it has to be this or bigger or this or smaller? Like, what's the thought behind people making a blow-off tube? What are the guidelines you'd suggest?
I usually just use siphon tube because you don't really need dual layer like you use with beer hose. I just use siphon, and I think I normally use, I think it's 3/8 or maybe 5. I think it's 3/8. Yeah.
Okay, so it's fairly large.
3/8, ½ inch. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't use something super small though. I like to have some flow.
Right.
It also gives you a little volume for that pressure difference.
Exactly.
Another thing you could do too is if you're worried about that, just make your tubing bigger and make it longer, and then put the tubing in a airlock or a bucket of water, sanitized water. And if that tubing's long enough, it's not going to have enough pressure to suck that all the way back into the fermenter. So that's another thought.
That is actually the Man of Frugality's DIY right there. Because what is tubing? Nothing. Like, I mean, it is so remarkably affordable. That's a great idea, James, if you're worried. I've actually, maybe I'm too dumb to know, or it's probably my processes. I go from primary in my little room here that ferments, and I go into a keg, and then I throw the keg in there in the fridge, right? So there is no, well, what's going to be sucking back for me in a keg.
Right.
But if people,
and another thing to think about, if you are performing pressure fermentation, you're not going to have to worry about that, because there's more than enough pressure in the primary to compensate for that difference in pressure when you cold crash. So that's something else to think about. I never worry about it. And I've been doing pressure fermentation for 2 years now.
When I was doing buckets, maybe I should have worried because I would throw the buckets, in there after primary fermentation, and I never noticed the suckback. Maybe it undoubtedly happened. I'm just too simple to have noticed, and it certainly didn't make a difference in the byproduct of my beer. So thank God, I didn't have too much suckback. Todd, you were giggling. First off, Simon said don't giggle, but what are you giggling about down there?
Oh, you're always talking about that should be the name to my autobiography. You came up with a new one. I appreciate that.
What was it? I missed it.
Too dumb to know.
Oh, that's a great title. That's really good. I like that. Yeah, here's how dumb I am too. I made that joke one time, and a friend, it might have been my wife, somebody was like, you can write multiple memoirs. It's not like an autobiography is the whole story. Memoirs are like situational. Oh my God, I thought they were the same thing. But I have a lot of memoirs coming down the pipeline, Todd.
I think I'm going to make that my new signature on my email.
Too dumb to know.
Yeah.
Actually, people, I'm not big on the signature. It just has my normal stuff. But Carrie from Zymergy, or from Homebrew Association, years ago, when you added Be Happy and I forget what's in your signature. That's the only time I've ever seen someone get their signature complimented. Like I think it's a link to Homebrew Happy Hour. But you have it hypertext though, something like, it's very simple. It's like brew more, be happy, or I forget what you put in it because I don't read your emails, but I do remember.
But that's true. So it is just it says brew be happy www.homebrewhappyhour.com.
Okay, so you do have the actual domain written out.
Yeah,
but yeah, brew be happy. I remember her complimenting that in a thread we were all in. You, me, and her for, I don't know.
We should use that more often on Homebrew Happy Hour.
We should. The Trub Club says brew, drink, share, but I like yours better. Brew, be happy. Maybe the Kolsteins.
Now it's going to be too dumb to know though.
Yeah, Homebrew Happy Hour. Too dumb to know.
I can leave the Homebrew Happy Hour link in there with that.
Homebrew Happy Hour. Too dumb to know. Thank you, Simon, for submitting the question. I will use your $25 gift card to kegconnection.com, where I'm going to buy a brow tag in the future because I made space for one. So a good reminder, if and when you call 325-305-6107 and leave us a voicemail, you get yourself that $25 gift card. But if you text that same line or go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, you still get yourself a $15 gift card, which I think is pretty good. Like our buddy Gary T, who texted me our second question of the show. He wrote, I'm new to brewing stout. I want to serve them using nitrogen. My local gas supply said they can sell me a tank of nitrogen, but when I asked for beer gas, they told me they didn't know what that is. I told them it's a blend of CO2 and nitrogen. Then they asked me what percentage I wanted to blend, and they could do it. I'm texting you for your advice on the percentage blend and any other tips for using nitrogen. Thanks. I'd messaged y'all earlier this week when this guy texted me, because one of the questions in that whole he formalized his thoughts to that, and I did some editing to clean it up because I don't like, most of these questions come in and they're actual text conversations. And then I go, hey, you're already listening to the show. Why don't we put this on the air? And they're like, yeah. So I compile all the thoughts into a thing. Gary had asked me, first off, hey, I need to buy a cylinder. Do I buy a nitrogen tank for beer gas, or do I buy a CO2 tank? And then he started talking about what is beer gas and all that. So I'm going to start with you, Todd. First, like beer gas 101. I know I'm not using it. When would you use it? What do you need to use it? And is there a standard blend that he can tell his gas supply shop?
Usually when you ask for beer gas, you're going to get whatever blend they use. I think it's normally 70-30 or 60-40. And the only difference really is you're just going to, like with the 60-40, you're just going to get more bubbles, more CO2 like, whereas with the 70-30, it's going to be smoother because it's going to be more nitrogen based. So I think most of the time it's 60-40, and there could be some other combinations too. Somebody might do a 65-35, I don't know, but anyway, that's the main difference. I think that it's probably going to be, in his case, he can mix it however he wants.
Which
but
is
in a lot of
impressive.
cases, it's going to be what they happen to, when they sell beer gas, what they sell. And some places may sell both of those mixtures. So, the reason you use beer gas is if you just run nitrogen on a nitrogenated beer, it's not going to have any carbonation, obviously. And carbonation is part of that taste profile. So you're going to be basically drinking flat beer.
Yeah, we've had this talk before because there's a coffee shop in town. Getting with them to help get them set up for serving draft kombucha and nitro cold brew. And I haven't messed with nitrogenated cold brew since we pitched to farmers and DFW like 5 years ago. And I couldn't remember if it was pure nitrogen or not. Yes, you don't
Pure
want
nitrogen.
It's pure nitrogen for coffee. Because you do not want CO2 in your coffee. It makes it more bitter. The taste profile it decreases. It gets worse, rather, with nitrogen. Where, like you said, in beer, you don't want a flat beer. It could be as smooth mouthfeel as possible with nitrogen, but it's going to suck if it's flat.
Well, I totally missed a whole nother part of that. I was going to say it and I forgot. That's the one of the reasons you use those gas. The other is kind of unrelated to homebrew because homebrewers almost never do this, but a lot of places do direct draw. Long draw, where they're doing very long runs. And when you do very long runs, you use a mixture because if you use pure CO2, you've got to have so much pressure to get it through those long lines that you would overcarbonate your beer. So
literally force carbonate it through the line.
No way.
Yeah. So you're using a mixture so that you don't overcarbonate the beer when you have to set your regulator at 18 or 20 psi to get it through there. Oh, which by the way, we've been talking a lot about jockey boxes. I never even thought about this, but that may be I'm sure that would also work with a jockey box as well. If you're going to be using a jockey box for a long time and you don't want to overcarbonate the beer, you could use a mixed gas as well.
We do have a video coming out as that project is completing, where you talked about balancing, right? The jockey box system with how much PSI roughly if you're using this kind of coil or this. That's interesting. You're right. You have a nitrogen cylinder there?
I sold one. I may still have another one.
Yeah, we have that brown one.
I have no idea what's in it though. It's not marked, so I don't know what's in there.
Okay, what is my best bet? What is my best bet of getting a nitro cylinder? I know they've been hard to get since COVID.
No, you just go to the gas place, and usually they rent them.
Okay,
so you could would just rent it by the month.
Yeah, get it and be basically buying into a swap program, right? At that point, or renting it.
I think around here it's a yearly rental fee, and then when you need a cylinder, you just swap them. You exchange for one that's full.
Yeah. So the thing is,
and you can put, somebody asked this question the other day. You can put mixed gas in either a CO2 cylinder or a nitrogen cylinder. So I say nitrogen cylinder, but a cylinder that's rated for a higher PSI that has the 580 valve on it.
Yes.
The reason it works better in a 580 valve cylinder is that those are usually higher, rated at a much higher pressure, so you can get more gas in it.
Gotcha.
I say much higher.
Well, I'm glad you circled around because I forgot we didn't really answer that. He didn't say it in his question. It was part of our text conversation that I had shared with y'all earlier in the week. So that is interesting that you can use it in either one. But is there a preference? Like if you're getting beer gas, would you?
Yeah, you want a higher pressure cylinder because remember, it's not a liquid. So CO2. When you get a CO2 cylinder, it's a liquid and it evaporates into a gas, just like propane. But with nitrogen is not a liquid because you could do liquid nitrogen, but you got to get it pretty cold.
and a lot of pressure too.
I'm joking, like it has to be really cold. So you're both of them are going to be a gas at this point. So you really don't have that much volume in there. So the higher pressure of the cylinder you can use, the more gas you're going to get. So with a CO2 cylinder, you're limited to, they're rated for 1800 psi. So
it got me thinking. You have, I'd imagine like again for home brewers, it's not like the CO2 we get is good enough for our purposes, right? I know my breakfast stout might objectively be smoother if I had beer gas, but that I've got to add its own regulator and cylinder to it and all this and that. But Todd, you have a setup with all those secondaries where sometimes, depending on the style, you dial in your PSI off the secondary bank to that one keg.
Sure.
Have you not?
All the time.
I wonder how
Lots.
come you've never thought, is beer gas not readily available in your area? I'm just surprised that of the three of us, you haven't implemented it, because you're normally the biggest stickler. If any of us were going to be a stickler, you normally care enough to be like, yes, I want this this stout to be poured on nitro, or it just doesn't matter.
I would not. Oh, you mean for the nitrogenated beer, not for.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's what I meant. I just mean like you use the secondaries off CO2 to dial into certain, like Belgians, you're serving higher or whatever. I just mean I'm just surprised you haven't put in a standalone tank for like when I give you the breakfast stout. I guess what I'm getting at is, could you get a tank so that we can have my breakfast stout on nitro at your place? I think
sure. Yeah.
I do need.
I have a tank. I don't know if it's in date. I don't. I mean,
well, you're not filling it anyway. You take it to the place. They'll tell you, right?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I don't know how blending works, but that's cool that his supply shop will blend it for him, right? Because
most of the places that have a long draw system have their own blender. So
I didn't know that.
They're blending their own gas in on location. So.
Well, when James, you worked extensively on a long draw setup at a local restaurant that was using V10s, and y'all did the whole game caboodle, whatever the saying is, when I edit that out because I butchered that. But what like are they using? Is it net? You absolutely have to use beer gas on long draw, or there's a formula of like once your lines are this long, now we have to do it. Like is
right?
I mean, technically, like Todd said, over so many length on a long draw, you seriously need to think about beer gas. But if I was putting a long draw system in anything, I would have a blender, just like the last one we did. Long draw systems are finicky. You have to have pressure right. You have to have a lot of things right, temperature and pressure and everything for them to perform correctly. But it wouldn't. I wouldn't even question putting a blender.
Too much math
on
involved.
A long draw.
I'll just find a way to make it a short draw.
Direct draw is the only way to go, but a lot of times you just can't do it.
Yeah.
The walk-in's too far away. You have multiple taps. You require so many kegs. So one of the coolest ones we saw was in California at the little restaurant and at the beach. And I walked over there and looked at it. It was exactly like the way we set up the one at the restaurant. It even had it was running the same fobs. And they were running glycol chilled lines all the way across the building. So they would go all the way through. There was a maze of lines going through the cooler and then up into the ceiling and then back down into. They had a hell of a tap set up.
Oh, it was.
I don't know how many taps they had, but it was a lot.
It was pretty. It was funny. You were geeking out. You were over there like you were because it's all a clear room, and they had kegs stacked as high as we could see. Yeah. And all
2
the
and
lines,
3 high.
2 and 3 high. And you were
it looked like a mile of tubing in there, and they were running
wild.
The same size tubing we were running off the keg through the fob into the trunk line.
And
it was really cool.
I didn't see the faucets they used, but I will say that it was pouring good. Like it's impressive. That kind of stuff that I think maybe the average person takes for granted, not realizing how much math was involved in getting that pour to be perfect. Because like you said, like ideally, best case scenario, Teddy's, our buddies that were in Brownwood, had it great. Your cold storage is on the other side of your draft wall, and then you're just going through that same wall. Boom.
Yeah, it was total direct draw.
It was beautiful.
And he was pulling right off the bright tank.
Exactly.
Yeah, Wes did a heck of a good job installing that all in.
But
it worked great.
And that's not always possible. Like we saw at I think it was called South Mission Draft or whatever it was, right off the beach at Mission Beach in San Diego. It was impressive. And their beer selection was impressive. And
it was.
It was very good.
The only thing that I not even complaint to them, maybe to them, Todd, remember my glass had a tiny crack in it. And I was like, oh, it's fine. And you know I'm a hypochondriac, or I worry or I overthink. And you're like, Yeah, but there could be microscopic shards, and you could be, with every sip, it could be going down your throat, and then just
Yeah. I could just see your stomach.
I ran over after like 4 sips. Can I please get a new glass? Oh, she rolled her eyes at me so bad.
Well, I mean, she shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't serve people beer in a cracked glass.
No, you're right. It was her fault, not my fault. It was her fault. She's not listening. I should throw her under the bus. Anyways, it is a great question from Gary, because when I texted y'all, I fessed up like I do on the show many times. I was like, I have no idea. I've never used beer gas. I've never thought to. And now I'm thinking the breakfast stout, Todd, might taste even better on beer gas.
We should do it. I don't know why I've never done it. You're right. We should do it. We've done everything else with draft. Why have we never gone through the?
Should I source it though? Because I don't know how easy it is for y'all. I just don't know.
I have a gas blender at home too.
Yeah, you do.
I don't remember exactly how that one works, but it's real simple. I think you just add. If that tank we have is nitrogen, we might be able to. I'll look at it when I get home and see how that works. I can't remember exactly.
You figure that out before I come up. I don't want to be in there where you're figuring out. Yeah, that noise is normal. Probably. I've never used this with pressurized tanks. That's on you, Gary. Thank you so much for submitting that question. Our third and final question for this week. It's another voicemail. It's our buddy Adam from Florida. And reminder again, when you call and leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com when I use it, obviously, on a future episode. So here's our voicemail, our third and final question. It's our buddy Adam from Florida.
Hello, everyone, and especially Josh. You're the man. You always come through. Every time I text you or anything, you're always there. And Todd and James, you're great. You always answer the phone and help with everything. But what I'm calling about is I'm in Florida. This is Adam in Florida. I'm calling about open fermentation, right? Because I was watching historical beer videos by the beer hunter, Michael Jackson. You can find these on YouTube. They're really cool. There's only like 5 or 6 of them. They're super neat. They're like 40 years old, but classic stuff. Watch them if you haven't. And these classic breweries all open ferment. I'm thinking, okay, what do they have in common here? I'm sure they don't have a total sterile environment, but they've got this yeast and they do this. Why can't we open ferment, and why do we close ferment and airlock and this and that? Is it because we don't pitch quick enough and bacteria can infect the wort, or what is it, and why do we as homebrewers not open ferment, or can we under certain conditions? So something to think about, guys. I hope you take this question because it's something I'm really curious about. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
It is a great question that I've never considered. I thought it was very worth Todd's money to put it on the show, but he's right. So you go to Dusseldorf, our favorite, or I say our, James and I, yeah. And I'm with you for alt beer. Schlussel's my favorite too. Open fermentation. And it has been for hundreds of years, or whenever, there was some time of taking a break, I think in the 40s. But anyway, so they've been open fermentation traditionally, right? And I think they all do it in Germany out of tradition. It's been what they've done. But he brings up a good point. James, what would happen if I do my next batch of Kolsch and I have it at temp, but that fermenter is just wide open, baby? There's nothing else. I did pitch the strain I wanted, but I left it open. Is it going to be a terrible outcome? What can I expect?
Well, what I would think about is, I think I would worry about before high krausen. So I would worry about maybe possibly contamination before there's enough yeast numbers where it blankets the whole top of wort with that foamy, creamy krausen. Once that's established, I wouldn't worry about it after that, other than maybe flies getting into it. So you want to have a good sealed room with good like HEPA filters filtering the air. That'd be my only thing here in Texas. Fruit flies are everywhere, and you don't want fresh wort with open fermentation, because that's just sweet sugar water. The flies will be all over it.
All over.
So you have to have a clean room. You'd have to have a room that has filtered air. And then once high krausen hits, then you're in the safe zone. But here in Texas, I wouldn't think about doing open fermentation.
So
because it's just
You think
Too much of a risk.
So yeah, you think it is contextual. Like they got away with it in the day. Well, here, let me start over. I promise I'm not trying to drag it out. I'm just trying to make it make sense, Todd, before you roll your eyes at me. Are the breweries today that are doing open fermentation, James, creating that environment you're describing? Or do you think they're still doing it the ancient way? Not an enclosed room, no air circulation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, are they?
Yeah, but that's Goza and people like
Gotcha.
the company, the brewery in Belgium that we went to. Is it Canyon? Is that how you pronounce it?
So, yeah.
They had open fermentation. They actually had open the roof. The tiles had flutes, and you could literally see the daylight through it. But the yeast was wild. So that's how it fermented, by wild yeast. But that creates all kinds of esters and different flavor profiles. If you're wanting to do a Pilsner, you're certainly not going to know open fermentation with wild yeast. I mean, there's a lot of variables there to think about as far as Texas and where we brew.
Yeah.
Now, in the middle of the winter, flies aren't an issue. Maybe that's something we could try doing in the winter and just see what happens. But I'm a pressure fermentation guy. I don't think I'll ever go back to regular fermentation if I can avoid it.
You've said that. So, I'm
thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm completely changed my brewing game.
He's made us believers. Todd, open fermentation, and has it ever piqued your interest, or do we do the things we do now for the sake of control and eliminating variables for the sake of consistent beer with every batch we brew?
You were talking about Cantillon in Belgium. I've probably told this story before so if you've listened to all 300 and whatever episodes, I apologize up front, but my favorite story from there is they talked about, they had this huge open fermentation vessel on the top. It's big stainless steel, not super.
I said it's copper, if you remember.
It was a fermentation vessel.
The open vessel was a big copper.
Okay.
Yeah, and it had probably 12-inch sidewalls, but it was huge, and they used it as not only a fermentation vessel, but also to cool the wort down when it come out of the boil pot.
Right. So my favorite story from them was that, they've been brewing that beer there for like 100 years. I don't know how many. I'm just making something up, but, like 150 years, let's say. And in the course of that time, their roof wore out. So they had to replace their roof. And I don't know, this is years ago when they had to replace their roof. And they replaced their roof, and their beer was totally different because all those yeast lived up in their roof and was coming off of there.
Oh, wow.
And when they replaced the roof, it screwed it up for years. And they had to, the beer changed because the yeast changed. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing about open fermentation is you get what you get. Yeah. So if you're happy with what you get, then open fermentation's great. If you're not happy with what you get, and Josh, you're probably not going to be happy with it, then then it wouldn't work for you. I mean, that's what I think it boils down to at the end.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I spoiler, I already gave my answer, but to reiterate, my assumption has always been that we, like James and I and you, Todd, sometimes with the pressure fermentation and temperature control and everything we do is to be consistent with our batches to make the best beer or the beer that we're trying to go for, where open fermentation opens the door for a lot to be different. And so it would be antithetical to my goal of trying to make, like, I want this Kolsch to taste like this every batch I do, but then the next time I'm going to open ferment, it's not going to taste like every batch. If I've dialed it in, I'm mashing at this temp and I'm pitching at this temp and I'm fermenting at this temp and I'm cold crashing for this long. It's going to be different because of that open fermentation, probably. But like James said, you could also mitigate variables by, do it in the dead of winter, or not the dead of winter, but when it's cold and flies aren't a thing, or this aren't a thing, but I think, it is a good thought exercise, because this is one that I guarantee will get people going, no, I open ferment all the time and I'm making farmhouse sales and they're great. I like the surprise. Or people might surprise us and go, Josh, you ignorant
Slut.
yeah. Oh, not Bill Murray. Who? Chevy Chase. Yeah, Jane, you ignorant beep. I have to beep for my mom. Anyway, but you know what I mean? There are going to be people who comment on both sides. And I think it would be interesting to be able to come back to this and go, oh, and maybe we find it is worth doing, at least with certain styles. I believe, Todd, you might know more than I do. Jester King in Austin, isn't that their whole thing is wild yeast and or open fermentation? Their farmhouse.
I don't know.
I think you drink it way more than I do. I've had it at your house, and that's it. I've never gone out of my way to get a farmhouse saison or any of the other styles. They're great people, and I wish the best for them. But just give me a nice controlled Kolsch. That's all I want.
Yeah, it's they specialize in beer fermented with wild yeast. Now, I will say that I've had Jester King because it was given to me as a gift. And I also have a very similar beer that used to be brewed in St. Marcus, and we knew the guy that brewed it, and I have quite a few of those. And it was very expensive, and I got it as a gift. So I do open them and drink them, but I haven't finished one yet.
You've been opening the Jester King ones?
They're very no, the one from
Dark
Side. The ones from
Dark Side Fermentation.
Yeah.
Oh,
because it's it's not the style of beer that I enjoy. Now I do run into one every once in a while where I go, I really like that one, but some of them to me taste like fermented vomit, and a lot of people like fermented vomit. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with fermented vomit if you like that. Yeah. I just don't personally care for fermented vomit myself.
Didn't Lorena have a homebrew con talk many years ago that we can ferment that or something like that? Yeah, I should ask about vomit. About can you ferment vomit?
If you would like to see what it tastes like, I have some beer at my house that we could open next time you're here.
No, I remember.
I tried one like a week or two ago, and I drank. You want to like it because it's an expensive beer and somebody gave it to you.
Yeah.
So you want to like it. So I opened it and I poured a glass and I tasted it and I went, that is an interesting taste. I think maybe I do like that. And I drank another sip and another sip. And I got about halfway through the 12 ounces of beer. And I went, I don't like that. I can't make myself like that. I can't convince myself that I like that. I try though. I keep trying to like it.
Your upper brain kicked in. It's like, dude, what are you doing to us? Why are you doing this? No, Todd, I prefer just a very straightforward Kolsch in my Trub Club Kolsch Stained, which is coming soon for people who are members at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. I had to get that last plug in before I wrapped up the show. It is a good question. Thank you, Adam, for calling it in. And again, if you have feedback on that question or any of the questions, first, I'd love for you to leave a voicemail, obviously. But I'd also like, if you're at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, to leave a comment below. I always appreciate hearing from y'all. I also appreciate what it does for the algorithm. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already. That doesn't cost you anything, and it greatly helps us out. And if you're an audio listener, obviously, you can text or call in and get yourself a $25 gift card if I use your voicemail on a future episode. Guys, I think that's all we have for that question and all the questions for the whole show. I appreciate y'all's time, especially committing to doing it a day early, even though we didn't have to. So thank y'all so much for your time, and I'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that link at the top of the page, or you can call, leave a voicemail, and be Todd's best friend when you use our hotline at 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsors, like Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntons, give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving tier. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.